University will always be a great university as long as it employs people like Ed Williams. I'm so proud that my forester son, Tim, could accompany me tonight and be here. Tim is a person who has made a profound difference in my life as a son. And he reminds me of my daddy. My daddy was a farmer, a man of integrity, a man whose word was his bond. And Tim has those qualities about his life, and I admire him for the life he lives, as well as being a forester for NRCS. It is an honor to speak with you tonight and to share with you for a little while. I'm grateful for the invitation from Chuck. Chuck has had you to applaud many different people tonight, and I want to invite you to applaud Chuck and his team for the job that they do for this community. I really was hoping to stay an extra hour and find out what to do about my hibiscus plants. They have been so faithful. Each one of them, I've got two, have produced 200 blooms so faithfully and beautifully. I asked a gardening friend the other day, how do I save it during the winter? My friend said, throw it away. Start over next spring. Having been born in 1932, it is hard to throw anything away. And so I'm going to check that advice with you, Chuck, about what to do with my lovely hibiscus plants. But thank you for your attention tonight. I have several friends who know everything. I think all of us do, don't we? Don't you know some people that know everything? Bring any subject up and they can talk the horns off of a billy goat. Everybody knows somebody like that? Well, like most of you, I guess, I know a little bit about a few subjects, but I am ignorant about many things. I don't have a clue how to help the Jews and the Palestinians to establish a lasting peace. Who does? I don't know. I don't know how long we should keep the American troops in Afghanistan fighting for our country. As long as they're there, I'm going to support them. We have some wonderful people at our church that are constantly sending blankets to servicemen and letting them know that they care about them and pray for them. And they anoint these blankets and mail them to servicemen and let them know that they are supporting them in their work there. But I don't have a clue how long we ought to keep troops over there. I don't know what to do about the maddening indebtedness of the United States. It appears that pretty soon China will own us, and you'll drive up to one of these bank windows, and instead of having to check English or Spanish, there'll be a little voice that says, unless you can speak Chinese, you can't get your money out of this bank. I don't know what to do about the debt that is threatening to undo the United States. I don't know why the furniture in my house has to be moved. It does. Having been married 58 years, I confess to you that I struggled for about 30 of those years arguing with my wife about moving the furniture. But finally, I may not know how to get peace between the Jews and the Palestinians, but I know how to get peace at home. I began to say to her, honey, where do you want this sofa? Just tell me and I'll put it there. I hate to come in after a trip late at night because I'm not sure where the bed will be when I get in. So there are a lot of things that I don't know anything about. But I want to share with you tonight for a few minutes about some things that I'm sure of. And one of the things that I'm sure of is that integrity will always matter. We see the lives of good people brought down because they failed to live among us as men and women of integrity. And I'm convinced, as I'm sure you are, that integrity is one of the hallmarks of the kind of character that we'd like to see in our neighbors and hopefully in ourselves. Integrity matters. It makes a difference. As a boy, as soon as I got my driver's license, I happened to be licensed to drive in 1945 at the age of 15. That was the only year that Alabama dropped the age from 16 to 15. My wife says after they saw me driving, they raised it back to 16. But during that time, my dad enjoyed sending me to town. Growing up on a farm, we moved from mules to John Deere tractors. And the John Deere place in Montgomery was a long ways from our home in Elmore County. And when something would break, my daddy would tell me what to get, and he'd send me to the John Deere place. Go get this. And when I'd get there and tell them what I wanted, they'd bring it out, and they'd say, "Where's your money?" And I'd say, "Charge it to my daddy." And I remember many times in the very beginning when I was doing this, they'd look at me like, "You little brat, who is your daddy?" And I'd say, "My daddy is W.M. Albritton." And he would say, "Okay, we'll charge it to him." And I discovered as a teenager that integrity matters, because I realized that my daddy could be trusted to pay his debts. And I'm sure tonight that as long as you and I live, we will continue to admire integrity in others and seek to live so that others will know us as people of integrity. I'm sure also that laughter will always be the best medicine for the soul. You know, Proverbs 17:22 says, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." Well, a merry heart is good medicine. Laughter is good for us. I think as a preacher, I have laughed almost as much as I've prayed. Because working with Methodists, you just have to laugh to get rid of some of their stubbornness and keep on going. But one of the things that happened to me while I was in Opelika brought me to tears and gave me some laughter on a Saturday afternoon. I had a couple that came to the Lord, and they got religion. Big tall fella named Ed, who was 6'5", and his wife Mary was 5'5". They were quite a pair. And after they got religion, they said to me, "We want you to baptize us by immersion." I said, "Well, I'm going to have to call on one of my Baptist buddies to borrow the pool." And so I called Tom. He had been run off from Pepperell at that time, and I got him on the phone. I said, "I want to borrow your baptismal pool." And he said, "Well, you can borrow it on Saturday. We use it on Sunday a lot." I said, "That's what I wanted, Saturday afternoon." So we set it up for 2 o'clock on Saturday, and I met a few people there. I was going to baptize this couple, and by immersion, and I didn't know a whole lot about it. I grew up wading in a swamp behind the house and hunting back there, but didn't know anything at all about this. But, you know, a Methodist preacher, if he's anything, he's not going to ask anybody for advice. He's just too stupid to ask for advice, and that's the way it is with most of us, you know. And I didn't want to ask anybody about how to baptize somebody by immersion, so I didn't ask Tom. Tom said, "I'm going to be out of town anyway, but I'll get the custodian to prepare everything for you." And so I got there, and the custodian was kind. He said, "I've got the water heated.